Thanks for tuning in to another episode of WGC Fits. Today, we're going to properly fit Ian for a putter because it's a travesty. It just needs help. Just bad, you know. Joking. He's
I'm thinking about going left.
thinking about going left. Wink. So, we're going to start off here, Ian. We're going to do our SAM report.
Cool.
We already have it calibrated, so I need you to hit 5 putts for me.
5 putts.
Now, no practice swings.
I had 3.
It's okay.
No practice
right
swings.
now, yeah. We can't do any practice swings or tapping or twirling of said putter. Now, right now, Sam is capturing data for what your delivery looks like with your current putter.
On the dot.
And I would prefer that if we didn't use the lines on...
I don't use line anyway.
Perfect. I don't want to use lines on the ball. I want to stress test kind of how your eyes work with your putter.
I have my own thoughts about look, but we will talk about that later.
Yeah, we can. So in general, you like your putter.
Love it. I like the weighting of it.
Mm-hmm.
The length, I feel like I could go up an inch.
I could see a little more length here. But it also needs to be said, you putt pretty well with your putter.
I do push it like that first one.
That's a common miss for you?
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like I will, do this.
How's your distance control?
Phenomenal.
Okay. So the only thing we're really seeing is a pushy miss.
Yeah.
Best way to put it? Okay. Let me see your putter. We're going to turn this off. So let's go over what this means. So tendency, timing, consistency. That is what Sam is grading you on. Now, an important thing to note for Sam is effectively the data capture is important, and that's cool. The real thing here is the software, because what they've done is they've effectively came up with a formula in terms of what it takes to be, let's say, efficient with your putter.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do these categories mean? They say the tendency is aim, face, path, spot, rotation. They say the timing is swing duration, impact timing, and rhythm. And then obviously consistency is simply repeatability. Now, I always tell people, I don't care too much about mechanically how good or inefficient you are.
Yeah.
All I ask is that whatever it is that you are doing, it is repeatable.
Yeah.
Some of the best players that have ever played this game don't have mechanically great putting strokes, but it's consistent. So
Correct.
that's where a putter is built to kind of get what they need.
Yeah.
Now, let's start off with what you do.
That's what I thought I'd do.
You aim to the right.
Yeah.
Right? Now, a couple things to note here. Anything that we see that is open, that's typically meaning right, or positive is meaning right.
Yeah.
Anything that we see is closed or negative means left. So you consistently aim to the right. If we look on the left there, we see those numbers. That's going to tell us how far right we were aimed per putt, on average of 1.1 degrees.
Got it.
Now, at a 10-foot putt, if we're within 1 degree either way, we're pretty okay.
Yeah.
Right? Now, because we are getting outside of 1 degree on some of these, it tells me that there's some manipulation happening at impact. So let's go find out what that is.
I think my path. Yeah.
Yeah. Your path moves a little left. Your face
Stays
maintains basically exactly where you start.
So I'm just canceling them out.
Yeah, effectively. Yeah. And I would argue that that's okay, right? Like for a good accomplished player like yourself, if we can repeatably, which definitely you are, you're 98% consistency with
the path
and 75% consistency with the face. If we can repeatably maintain this type of formula, you're going to be okay, right? Because this is what we're looking for. Averages that make sense. So let's talk real quick about what these two screens are telling me. I use this screen quite a bit to tell me what shape and sight line of a putter need to be.
Mm-hmm.
This screen tells me what the neck effectively has to start to look like, or what amount of kind of open and close do I want, or with my putter for the player's putting stroke. Okay.
Yeah.
So next, this is a top-down view of what our putting path looks like. The square in the middle is the ball. Everything to the right is going to be the takeaway. Everything to the left is going to be the follow-through. Now, I'm going to say I'm very impressed here, right? Two things very important to me. Big believer in an equidistant putting stroke, which means whatever our takeaway is in terms of distance, our follow-through has to be. Second, It's incredibly neutral, right? And we've known that, right? You've worked on this. Your putting path is a very, very, very neutral putting path.
Yeah.
So this also starts to tell me what we're kind of looking for in the neck of a putter, okay?
Okay.
So more or less, how much rotation do we want to have or want to see? Next, we're going to look at strike.
Heel.
So this tells us length and lie, as well as starts to paint a picture of what our launch condition looks like. Okay. So you're a little toey.
Yeah.
We also know that you're slightly toe up in terms of delivery. Now I'm going to tell you that 0.1 degree up in terms of delivery, I'm not worried about lie angle wise.
Yeah.
However, I do wonder, because when we're visibly looking at you, the putter does look a little short.
It's 34 inches.
We probably want to adjust length potentially a little bit, but
Okay.
as long as we maintain this consistent delivery, we'll see. This is a very, very, very important screen. In fact, most people would say this is kind of one of the more important things to look at when doing a putter fitting, okay? So we'll start off on the left. Putter above ground at impact, right? The putter is obviously going to hover above the ground during the stroke. 8.4 millimeters up, I'm okay with that, right?
Yeah.
Could be argued that's maybe a touch on the high side. However, you have a relatively high rise angle. Now, interestingly enough, that also could state that your putter might be a hair short, right?
Yeah.
So not too bad. Everything else is really good. In terms of shaft angle, you de-loft the putter 0.9 degrees. This brings your effective loft to 2.1 degrees, and it brings your predictive launch to 2.7 degrees up, and you are creating top spin.
Which is good.
This is pretty much a perfect screen here, Ian.
Yeah.
Everything about this, really, really good. We want to see you de-lofting. I want to see a delivered loft of around 1 or 2 degrees. And the only kind of thing that's really black and white here is your predictive launch, in my opinion, has to be between 1 and 3 up. If you're between 1 and 3 up, you're going to be able to successfully roll the ball just about anywhere you go, okay?
Yay.
That's really good. So kudos, you're doing quite nice in terms of launch condition. Next, we're going to talk about the actual rotation of the putter for you, right? And we start to see why your putter hangs a touch open at impact. So at the start of your takeaway, we get her open to 3.8 degrees. At impact, we are 1 degree open. And at the end of your putting stroke, you're 1.2 degrees closed. In total, we're looking at 5 degrees of closing, which is not bad. And in terms of rotation, we are looking at roughly 8.6 degrees a second at impact. So it's telling me how fast the face is closing, and then also how much the face is actually closing. Now, here's a very important part. If we look at the bottom here, again, measurement of consistency. We look at the bottom, we're looking at where all those tiny little verticals are right there, right?
Yeah.
Can you kind of zoom in on those, or can you see those clearly?
Yeah, we're there.
That's going to tell us effectively where your face is pointed at impact. So we see it's very, very consistent, right?
Yeah.
So mechanically speaking, you're able to time up the rotation of the putter that you do have here very, very nicely. The only thing I would say is if we were going to try to get your face a little bit more square at impact, maybe we work on potentially adjusting something, whether it's delivery or weight of the putter or something like that, to help the putter not open as much on your takeaway. However, if we go back to the path screen, you're almost always a hair left. So honestly, I'm not overly upset about that. I'd say it's pretty good.
Okay.
Next, we're going to take a look at face to path effectively, right?
Yeah.
So we see here that you are pretty much always a touch open and at times a hair neutral at your face to path. That's, again, kind of consistent with what we've seen so far, right? Your path moves a little bit left, so there's always going to be times where it's a little bit open. We know your face is actually pretty neutral, so I'm not too upset about this, right?
Okay.
Once again, very, very good. And then we're talking about movement dynamics, so we're talking about tempo, right? Backswing and forward swing. We're talking about speed, and we're talking about acceleration. So we see your acceleration is relatively consistent, and we see your speed is almost spot on every single time. Again, I don't have any issues with this, right? It's very good. It's very consistent. You're a very neutral putter, which is very nice. This is another thing that talks about tempo a little bit. We're talking about timing. So timing basically through the whole swing and then at impact, right? Where are we looking at? What kind of measurements are we looking at? Once again, nothing out of the ordinary. I would say you're not necessarily an accelerator or a decelerator. You are
Coaster.
kind of good. You know, you let the weight of the putter do what you're supposed to do. So, what do we like? What do we don't like? Honestly, we don't mind your putter.
Yeah.
Your putter's pretty good. And we know that you're a pretty decent putter in general.
Every
right?
now and then.
My question to you would be, how do you feel about the weight of it?
Love it.
Feels good?
I think so.
Do you have any issues with, like, how often does that push come out actually?
Yeah.
Not enough to be truly worrisome about it? Let's ask you this. When you do have that miss, do you feel like it's the stroke coming a little bit too inside?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's because you're stretching a bit much?
Could be.
Honestly, the only thing we want
You mean
to
like
do,
this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? The only thing we might want to do with your putter is if we just were able to get something very similar to what you have, but be maybe a hair longer,
Yeah.
that actually might help you just maintain a little bit better posture. And that's going to allow you to be a little bit more neutral with that delivery and not get inside sometimes.
Yeah.
Because when you with the way you hold a putter, there's potential that you're holding it so squarely, I guess is the best way to put it, that sometimes you are going to come inside. Does that make sense? It's bound to happen, right? So if we go a little bit longer, just let a little bit more of a natural posture take over, it might help with that a little bit.
I just looked at Scheffler and Oberg, and they play 35.5-inch putters. And they're shorter than me.
My new putter is going to be 35.5.
Yeah.
So
that's
a
why.
little bit longer might not be the worst thing to think about. You have an Adele. I know there's a plug weight in there.
Yes.
Where is it for you?
Well, there's one here and there's one here.
Is there one right at the bottom or right at the end of the tip though? Or the butt end of the shaft, I should say?
Yeah. You can
So
even see it.
we probably couldn't do an extension or anything.
Terry said he could take it out.
Could we put it back in though?
That's a question. I don't know.
That would be the question we'd have to figure out, because I know we could take it out. I just don't know if we could put it back in.
But here's the thing. I know I can get a weight just secondhand.
To make that work?
Yeah.
Well, dude, we should make your putter 35 inches up.
We'll try it.
Yeah, it's worth doing.
Okay.
It could always be undone.
Do I like any other putters?
Well, you're using a very unique putter right now.
That is correct.
And I'm going to tell you at this point, right, you're playing pretty good golf.
The putting, though, inside of 10 feet.
Good or bad?
5 to 10 feet is where it gets weird.
How weird?
I could make more.
So if I put you in golf conditions, what are you from 10 feet? 30%? 20%?
Here, I'll do it better this way. I lose one stroke of putting every round from 20 feet and in.
Okay.
Actually, 1.2.
Does it give you a directional miss? Is it right?
It depends on the break.
Okay. Is it right or soft? Meaning low side.
It's 2 feet past the hole.
Okay, so you're hitting a little firm.
Smidgen.
Okay.
But to you, that's normal. Yeah.
I would say, because I make a lot of 3-footers, man, trust it. I would say, if there's one area that I would be curious to see just how it felt, what happens if we can actually get your putter to stay a little bit more neutral, right?
Yeah.
So we know that it snaps open basically as soon as the takeaway happens.
Okay.
And I would argue that that's a weight thing, right? I really would.
Weight where?
At the bottom.
No weight in the bottom?
No, I think you need a little bit in the bottom.
Okay.
Because if we tend to get open, let me see your putter real quick. If we're tending to get open right at the takeaway, and I know we're only talking about essentially 4 degrees, right?
Yeah.
But what that tells me is instead of having this be our takeaway, there's probably a little bit of this.
Yeah.
Okay.
You mean
so
that?
Exactly. So if our hands are able to do so, then if we give a little bit more weight down here specifically, it may help us with that takeaway a little
Well,
bit.
also, there is no weight.
There's no weight in the toe in general for you,
Yes.
right? Which is, again, maybe a little bit different. I would say let's actually try something slightly different than this.
Okay.
Let's grab a lab putter. And I would say I'd want to see you grab either the Link or one of the Oz's. Do you have much of a forward press?
I don't like to move my putter.
Okay, so let's give you that Oz. I actually like the idea of this one, okay?
Yeah.
Now, this shouldn't feel too dissimilar in terms of what the putter wants to do through the stroke rotation wise to what you have.
Okay.
However, it is heavier at the bottom, specifically to a point where I think it may actually help you with that squaring of that club face through impact a hair better. Okay. Let's see what happens. Let's hit a couple of putts. So I want you to hit a couple putts. We're recording you on Pro V1 now. And what we want to see is, does it look like, one, the putter's coming inside?
Yeah.
Two, does it look like we're keeping it square? And are we seeing a true end over end roll? If we're seeing just a little bit of that center of access being off, right, or that tilt being off, then we know it's not necessarily answering the question that we have to.
Okay.
If we see the putter diving inside on the takeaway, we know it's not answering the question that we have to. So hit a couple. We got you recording. We'll see what happens.
Is this longer than my putter?
This is longer. This is actually, no, I think this is the same length as yours, actually. This is 34.
Okay.
What you
Yeah, I just feel like I need like here.
Yeah, no, it probably could be longer. Like I said, that's for sure.
Do you want lines or not lines?
Yeah, now we'll use lines.
Which?
I actually don't mind shape-wise and line-wise what you have on your putter.
Yeah.
Again, it proves that you can line it up and sight it in, let's say, very good. So we're probably looking to keep something very similar to what you have if we are going to switch putters.
Yeah.
But I don't want to deviate, let's say, you know? Now, just first opinion, what's this feel like? Does it feel similar at all, or is it totally
Similar.
different? Feel similar?
Only because there's no on or offset.
Mm-hmm. Are you feeling like you're able to maintain control of that face through impact?
I think so.
Okay.
Looks so.
I'll tell you, eye test, I like a lot of what I'm seeing. Now, after you hit this one more, we're going to look at our recording and we're going to see if it's doing what we need it to do.
Okay.
All right, let's look at what this looks like. So,
As long as I hit the ball. Oh, there we go.
yep, we're getting there.
Okay.
So we're noticing lie slightly off. This is at 69. It definitely needs to be a little bit more upright for you.
I think mine's like 72.
Yeah, that makes sense. But let's see what the takeaway looks like. So that's straight back, right?
Yeah.
Never getting inside at all on you. Right down the line. Release nicely, end over end roll. I'd say that one was very, very good.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, the face doesn't seem to be opening.
Not at all. And again, it's coming back perfectly, right? You're not drifting inside at all. Good transition, another good roll. It's just really nice, man. Another really good roll, little toey. That can be described by lie angle.
Curious to see the last one because it went a little right. I mean, overall, it looks pretty straight.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. I guess our last one. No, you didn't come inside.
Oh, it just wobbled.
Just wobbled a little bit on the roll, yeah. That's what I was looking for. Did we actually come inside? We definitely didn't. It answers the questions, man, right? I mean, it's doing what we need to do. At this point, what I'd probably say here is, realistically speaking, we could probably, test something like that. So obviously it wasn't raining or anything. I'd take you outside or something.
Yeah.
But that kind of makes sense, right? In this instance, I'd probably stay away from more of a traditional putter for you.
Oh, yeah.
Until we exhausted kind of these slightly different windows of putting, being lab and, square to square could be an idea. Adele, like some of the older Adele stuff, that's in there.
Yeah.
A couple of new putters coming out that are, in this same line, if you will. At this point, I wouldn't want to take you out of something like that unless you truly, felt like you wanted to. Yeah, I mean, that's something where it looks like it's maintaining what you're doing well, answering all the questions that are presented in your report. And the next step would be, let's go out there and let's get some experience with it and test it. If it answers the questions that we have to answer, I think we're in a pretty good spot. I'd hate to give you homework, but I guess I'm giving you some homework. You got to test this guy out a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Other than that, pretty good. Hey, try that guy.
So why are we trying this one?
Because it's going to help with sight a little bit, and then, it should do the opposite of what yours is doing, but then more importantly, it's going to control the face a little better.
Okay.
Let's see. All right, 5 putts. See what you got.
So is this thing heavier in the head?
Than yours by a lot, yeah.
By far?
By far.
Oh, I hit that one harder. Feels good off the face.
It's because I think you're more square.
What?
It's because I think you might be more square. Or at least more centered.
No, like soft. Just a good feeling off the face. Oh, no. Normally I couldn't do square putters.
Well, the square putter actually makes more sense with how you're aiming than anything else, but I knew we're not getting you into a window of 0.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what the answer 30 was. Now it's 35 inches. Now we see a couple of things here. Your timing, you did kind of hit 2 a little hard, but you're adjusting to something for the first time in 2.5 years, I think?
2 years.
2 years, so it's gonna be a bit different. However, consistency through the roof.
I know.
Right? Everything else very, very good. Let's look at what happens. Aim. Kind of hilarious.
Hey, we're close now.
We're exactly the opposite of where we were, right?
But look at that face change.
No, I mean, drastically, and that's exactly what, like I said, this screen tells me what the face has to look like and what the sideline has to look like.
Yeah.
We see here almost the exact opposite of what you're doing with face at impact.
Yep.
Your path still moves a touch left, so we'll help you with that idea a little bit. And to be fair, I think you aim and set up a little bit open. So
I do, yeah.
That's okay, right?
But still, 96 and 97 is pretty good.
Really good. And what we're actually doing is now we're not going against what you're doing. You're actually just mimicking body line a little better.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad thing. We see here, again, path moving
just a little
left,
wipey.
Just because we set up a little open, I would argue. But still very consistent in terms of that equidistant idea. So I'm a big fan of that. Look at how much better we improved your strike points.
Yep,
right?
no putt ever felt toed.
Correct. And now we're a hair toe down, which I 100% prefer to see versus a touch toe up.
Yeah.
Right. This kind of has to do with some ulnar deviation that's really important. We improved your millimeters above the ground in terms of the path. We improved your rise angle, and we maintained really, really good, near perfect launch condition. So very good there. Now, this is the biggest kind of surprise or most revealing screen, I would say.
Yeah.
And this screen often does tell us this, right? Face rotation. Notice how at the start of our takeaway, we are looking at 2.6 degrees, or I should say the end of our takeaway, we're looking at 2.6 degrees open.
It used to be 4.
Used to be 4. We're 1 closed versus 1 open.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we can actually release the putter down the line, which is really good. You're 4.1 closed. Total closing, we're 6.7. Our face angle is literally stacked on top of each other. I didn't think we'd be able to get closer, but we actually did tighten up that. And then from a rotation perspective, you now actually have a true pattern to what this putter is doing, and it is incredibly repeatable.
Yeah.
So we actually improved your face through impact with every single putt. 98% consistency once again.
That's awesome.
Now we see here face to path, you're obviously going to be a little bit open. That's because the path's going to be a little bit left. But again, I'm okay with that for right now. It's going to be an adjustment period. In terms of tempo, really good. And believe it or not, we actually tightened this up a little bit as well.
Yeah.
So overall, it just seems like something that has just a hair of toe hang can be quite beneficial for you.
Yeah. Well, the tempo probably improved because there's actually weight now that I can
now
feel.
Like we said, we can actually feel this part of the putter before, right?
Yeah.
Last time with your putter, all the weight's in the heel. And I told you I wouldn't mind seeing a touch in the toe.
Yeah.
Now, we could still look elsewhere, obviously, but I would argue this is pretty good.
I do like it.
It's pretty good.
It's a lot longer neck.
Yes. So typically a blade putter has around 42 degree kind of toe hang, I should say. This is at 30, so that's quite a bit less.
Yeah.
I don't think we need, well, the first one we tried was actually a face balanced blade, right? I don't think we need something that's going to be face balanced. I'd like to see a little bit of toe hang, but I don't want to go full bore toe hang, right? So right now, believe it or not, this is one of the few putters out there that actually kind of falls into that category.
Now, why would this one help me over a lab one?
Because what we've learned about you is, as good as you can deliver a putter that doesn't have any rotation, which is path and consistency of that path and everything like that, you do struggle a little bit with being perfect every time with the face, right? And everybody does.
Yeah.
So if we give you something that's just going to help you a little bit in terms of being able to, let's say, aid in that face closure or rotation, if you will, it helps, right? I'm going to say something stupid, but it's kind of like training wheels, right? You're not going to use them all the time, but when you need them, it's good to have them. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of effectively what just introducing a touch of toe hang into a putter, or in this case, a touch of face rotation into a putter can be for a player, right?
Yeah.
Recently, it's been kind of shown to me by a guy who's been fitting putters for a very long time, let's say, that even though with all of these kind of new age kind of putters that are coming out, even though the delivery of that can be very, very consistent, very, very neutral, right? Sometimes players to hit really kind of peak performance windows need just a touch of rotation in the face, right? And that's where something like this can just help you really try to get to that next level, let's say.
Okay.
Here's the one thing that I would be willing to bet on. I bet you play golf with this for a month and those 10 footers might start falling a little bit.
Okay.
You know, it's just, that's what that report tells me, that you're going to be able to get this to start online from 8 to 10 feet a little bit better than an Adele putter or a lab putter.
Okay.
For you specifically, right? It's not for everybody, but in this specific case, it might work.
Cool.
There we go.